Well, guess what? This is one of the podcasts where I'm always happy that we can do. It's a post game recap on a winning game from the Washington Commanders. Let's get to it. And welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg, along with Brandon, my co-host. And this channel, of course, is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And also, when you do, make sure you hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. So, and historically, or at least in the past several years, the Washington Commanders, Washington Redskins at the time, Washington football team, whatever they're called, has not historically been that great in prime time. I mean, you have a couple of games here and there, but usually, they're not that good in prime time. If we go back to like the Kirk Cousin days, you almost knew it was going to be an L because he just could not perform on the big stage. Well, fast forward to last night, and a lot of us, including the media who picked all of them picked Cincinnati to beat Washington last night, 0-2 Cincinnati. But you know what? I don't blame them, Brandon, because, well, I mean, Cincinnati, they're probably one of the better 0-3 teams out there, honestly. And I believe they are going to get it together. But there was no reason, honestly, to pick us.
Yeah.
Even Troy Aikman, at the beginning of the game, he was talking about how it's going to be a rough season for the Washington Commanders. This is going to be probably too tough of a game for them to play. And, I think a lot of us were kind of like, we just want to see a good game. You have some out there in Twitter X land who were like, they're going to win tonight. They're going to win. And it's like, bless their heart. I love, I love the burgundy and gold colored glasses. I need some of those myself. Me, I was like, I just want to see a good game. Not expecting them to win, just want to see a good game played. Well, darn it, if they didn't go and actually win. Now, how do you win? Well, quite frankly, you score on every single drive you get, except for the kneel down at the end of the half. That was the only time they didn't score.
Yeah.
Poor Tressway, I think I may have seen him on the sidelines playing tic-tac-toe or something. I mean, he was bored. He might have fallen asleep at one point. I'm not sure. No, but anyway, very good game by the Washington Commanders offense. Jayden Daniels, I think, had his coming out party last night. I mean, he flat out balled last night. And guess who else showed up? Scary Terry McLaurin. Just when people are about ready to, put the kibosh on his career and say, you know what, he's good at one point, but he's not ever really going to be that true number one. He proves you wrong.
Yeah.
He proves you wrong. So many people were proven wrong on things. Like last night, well, they're just going to dink and dunk. They're not going to go downfield. And if they do, Jayden Daniels is not going to, he misses a lot of wide open people. And he did. He did.
Yeah.
But they still went downfield, a 56-yard throw to Terry McLaurin. And then later on, as we'll talk about this as well, that 27-yard touchdown throw to Terry McLaurin. Other guys, Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Fantastic night before he went out with what we feared to be a concussion. But he was tremendous. Brian Robinson ran some tough yards last night. Yeah. The offense just kicked on. I can't say enough about the offensive line, Brandon. The offensive line was tremendous. I mean, they played very well. And for those who probably didn't really pick up on it, we saw Brandon Coleman and Cornelius Lucas swapping back and forth at the left
Yeah.
tackle position. They seemed to hold that position down pretty well overall. I thought that the offensive line gave Jayden Daniels a lot more time. And then Jayden Daniels scrambled when he needed to scramble, and he made some plays. He broke some ankles, with his juking. I mean, uh, he did it, man. I mean, he was everything that you could hope for out of a second overall pick for a quarterback. But let's just do a little bit of recap here. I'm just going to show the. Let me get this up here. Just going to show some of the stats. So, Brandon, Jayden Daniels, 21 for 23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, of course, no interceptions. He did take a couple of sacks, QBR rating of 93.0. He broke some records last night, Brandon, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I believe he's the first one ever in NFL history.
Yeah. First one ever in NFL history was a rookie, and especially in franchise history as well. I mean, he was perfect. I mean, that's all you can say. He was absolutely perfect. He had 12 carries for 39 yards. Austin Eckler, 3 carries for 35 yards. And of course, Austin had that big kickoff return that really set Washington up. Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 100 yards. So guess what, folks? If he keeps doing this, you're not going to have to worry about him hitting 1,000 yards again. He's easily going to do it. His longest, they said 55. It was about 56 yards.
Yeah.
Luke McCaffrey had some nice catches. He had that one catch where he kind of got around the defensive back there, and he was heading toward that pylon. Just stepped out of bounds before he could reach it. But 44 yards for him. Zach Ertz had 5 receiving, 5 pass receptions for 38 yards. Noah Brown got into the action. Diami Brown did. And one that everybody knew was going to wind up getting a catch, Trent Scott.
Yeah.
He got his 1 yard catch, but it counted because not only was it a touchdown, but it was Jayden Daniels' first ever touchdown pass in the NFL for the regular season. So his first touchdown pass is going to be to an offensive lineman. You can't. I mean, that's perfect. Now the defense. We'll talk about the defense, and not so good of a light. But overall, I mean, you look at Cincy's numbers. Cincinnati had very good numbers as well. I mean, honestly, Joe Burrow, he looked really good out there last night. Zach Moss, though, I thought he was a killer last night. Jamar Chase, of course, he's always a killer. Why do you leave him with single coverage? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, T. Higgins got into the action as well. I think this was his first game back. Andre, I never could pronounce his last name. Ulavas. Man, he's going to be something. He had some nice catches out there last night.
Oh yeah.
Very nice catches. But overall, if you're a fan of offense, then last night's game was definitely for you. But Brandon, what were some of the moments that stood out to you the most with this game?
Some of those passes, man. I mean, Jayden Daniels. There was a lot of question marks coming in this game. The offense kind of sputtered last game against the Giants, all field goals. So a lot of people you were expecting a lot more from the offense. Looking at Terry McLaurin, a lot of people in the fan base, right, wondering if he's still that true number one receiver, whether him and Jayden Daniels can coexist. They put all doubts to bed last night. I mean, that one touchdown throw he threw to Scary Terry was perfect. right over the shoulder, perfect. Couldn't ask for a more perfect throw. Even the first throw he threw to Terry, man, it was right on the money. I mean, Terry got that separation, and Jaden Daniels just sit there and hit him up, man. So, like I said, Jaden Daniels is a real deal, and if this fan base should be very, very excited because number one, we got the ownership out the way. Dan Snyder out of town, man. Got a new owner in Josh Harris, man, a really good owner, new general manager, new coaching staff. Now we finally have a franchise quarterback. Not a journeyman, not a we finally have a legitimate franchise quarterback. This kid is impressive. I mean, he's impressive on the field with his ability to throw from the pocket, his ability to throw on the run, accurate deep ball. I mean, the one question mark was throwing across the middle. He's trying to do that now. Extending plays with his legs, football IQ's to the roof, but he's a humble young man. I mean, he checks every box. I mean, he's a heck of a quarterback, but when he talks to the media, it's just he's got a great head on his shoulder, and obviously he was raised right. Raised right way. I mean, it's just he's a very humble young man who comes in and he works his tail off, but he's on the real as an athlete. I mean, he just is just because I remember the RG3 year, man, and how excited it was when RG3 came in, the excitement, and then obviously his career didn't end the way we wanted to in DC. So now entering Jayden Daniels, it feels like it has that RG3 type of excitement where we have a legitimate weapon at quarterback. I mean, this kid can play, and so I'm wild on a whole new level because what he was able to do with Terry, and that's a connection you want. Him and Terry need to have that connection because a quarterback and his number one option, man, they need to have that connection. And they showed last night that number one, Terry McLaurin's the number one receiver. Let's stop it. He's the number one receiver. I mean, he's a legitimate number one. He's proven that. And of all the quarterbacks, look how many quarterbacks he's had to play with. You know what I mean? He
Like
came
30?
in, he was like 30 quarterbacks, right? He comes in, they're the Redskins, then becomes the Washington football team, now the Commanders. This man's been through it all. He's been through how many different names, how many different quarterbacks, how many different coordinators, and he's been a true professional. Signing an extension, being a much beloved player here in DC, it is refreshing to see Terry McLaurin have that breakout game this season that we wanted him to have. So, but Jayden Daniels, I can't say enough, man. I mean, look at that stat line. I mean, 21 for 23, efficiency. I mean, efficient to the T. Only missing 2 throws. I mean, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 2 sacks, but I mean, his quarterback rating is 141.7, Greg. I'm trying to tell you. And then 12 carries, 39 yards, and another touchdown. This kid is unreal. I mean, and like I said, it's refreshing because as a fan, 2 years ago, would you even believe we'd be in this situation 2 years ago where
No.
we still dealing with Dan Snyder? We don't even have a legitimate GM. Ron Rivera's still the coach. And nothing against Sam Howell or any other quarterback we had, but we didn't have a clear-cut franchise guy. Now we have an owner that actually is a good owner. We have a general manager that knows what he's doing. We have adults in the building. We have a coaching staff that has experience in a Super Bowl. I mean, and now we have a quarterback who is a real deal, dual threat quarterback, man. So Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, can't say enough. Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, man. This running back room has been immaculate, in my opinion. Brian Robinson, with his ability to lower his shoulder pad and just be that power runner, man. I haven't seen many defenders that can bring him down. It takes about 3 or 4 guys
Oh
to
yeah,
bring B Rob down.
it's like a crowd of people. When you see B Rob, he goes up the middle, and sometimes like, oh man, this is not going to go for very long. But then you see B Rob like pulling people forward for another like 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he's just that bruiser, man. And then that's why they kind of have that sweet and salty combination, right? When you be Rob, you have a guy who can lower his shoulder pads, be that power guy. Eckler is so crafty, with his speed, with his elusiveness, man. With his ability to, be very active in passing downs and special teams. I mean, he brought the ball back for 62 yards. So, I mean, very excited with his team. Now, obviously, we're still gonna have growing pains. Now, I'm excited. I love to see a big win because I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't have us win this game. I mean,
I didn't either.
I don't think many people did, but it's refreshing to see us not only win on prime time, but in this fashion because it proves that when we hit that point where we're full cylinders ahead, we're gonna be a team to be reckoned with, man. We're not even operating at 50% power right now. We still have chemistry working on. We have a lot of growing pains. Jayden Daniels, this team overall proved that when we are operating at full cylinders, we're going to be a team to reckon with. Now, obviously, let's talk about the defense. Lord have mercy, this defense, man. Now, it is not the whole defense. Bobby Wagner continues to be a tackling machine. I felt he had a pretty good game. let's see. Luvu had his moments. Chen had his moments. I know he had a couple good hits, man, knocked the ball out. But I think the big question here that I want to bring up is we're paying a lot of money to Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, man. And you're not seeing anything out of them. I think that's the big question mark. We know the secondary is. I'm gonna be nice, but I'm not the trash. I'm the bad man. But the linebacker core I think is much improved, and I think that Jamin Davis on the edge is a good move. But Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, they're a big question mark right now. We need to see more. How much money are we paying both of them? And they're just, I haven't seen the production to match the salary. And I can't remember the last time I had. I mean, this is a real question, Greg. And I'm going to ask you, have we, over the course of both contracts of Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, have we got our money's worth? Because have they ever reached that moment where we saw in the dominant performances that their price tag warrants? And I think that you got to really look at these two guys and think that, look, Jonathan Allen at one point, I think is trade bait, especially when they're starting to talk about, and obviously we're going to cover it in this week, man, about, picking up a receiver before the deadline. But, how long do we have with Jonathan Allen? Because the amount of money we're paying him and Deron Payne, they were non-factors last night, in my opinion. You didn't see a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow, is as good as Jayden Daniels did. Joe Burrow threw for 324 yards and three
Yeah.
touchdowns. So it's not like, this was a shootout. I mean, obviously we're excited being Commanders fans, but this was a lot closer than 38-33, this was a close game. But I think the biggest thing to highlight is we hung in there with a really good team. Cincinnati, look, they're 0-3, got it. They're not gonna be winless for long. They're a good team. I mean, if you look at their running back attack, man, I mean, Brown and Moss, man, they kind of echo what we have going on in Eckler and B. Rob. They have the nice, sweet, and salty combination, man, where, with Zach Moss, he's the guy who can catch out the backfield. He's active in passing downs and third down. And then if you look at Brown, man, Brown's a bruiser too. So this is a good team. So overall, I love what I saw for the team. I'm very happy. Definitely happy to see us get the win on prime time. Jayden Daniels is just unreal, man. And I think that right now he put the NFL on notice and let people know that he probably is the best quarterback in this draft.
Let's get back to the defense though, because you were talking about Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, and those two guys are supposed to be the big run stoppers up the middle, and we got gashed the last couple of weeks. We have gotten gashed by the running backs.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it look easy, especially last night. We saw like huge holes up the middle, and they couldn't stop it, and these running backs are getting into the second and third what do you call it stage easily. Like they're getting past that defensive line easily. Now,
Yeah.
you did have occasions where you saw them get, the running backs would finally get stuffed in the backfield for a loss, but it was also like a gang tackle. It wasn't like necessarily this one guy coming over and ending it. And I think a lot of that, when you saw plays like that, had a lot to do with some of the other rotation guys coming in, guys who did get pressure on Joe Burrow, guys like Jean Baptiste, who was
Right.
one of our draft picks, came in there and he looked real good. I mean, he came out of there and sacked Joe Burrow, had a great play. And you did have that one play with Deron Payne where he did get in the backfield, but he couldn't wrap up the running back. Like he
Yeah.
was right there. He had his hands on him and he just couldn't do it. And then running back somehow spun away and wound up getting positive net yards. So overall, I hate to say it, but there is definitely a problem in the middle. Deron Payne and John Allen. And this could be where one move that Ron Rivera did make with picking up Dorian Mathis, maybe this
Yeah.
proves to be a good move later on, because you could possibly look at, well, you know what, if Phil continues to play, more reps, plays well, stays healthy, then that could free up maybe trading one of those guys for another position we badly need.
Yeah.
Obviously we need secondary help. We saw our secondary last night, got burnt quite a bit, but at the same time there were some interesting moves. Putting Jamar Chase out there in single coverage,
Mm, 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 mm.
a rookie on him nonetheless,
Yeah.
and getting burnt. Um, and then just some of the other guys as well is like you saw soft just soft cushions there in the secondary in the zone where they just sat back and you know caught passes like crazy and just literally had their way. I mean, Cincinnati's offense went up and down the field at ease,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like our offense. So you know, but it's from a defensive standpoint, you're not going to win very many ball games if your defense is Swiss cheese like that. You've got to be able to start stopping people, especially when you get to like 3rd and 11, which we obviously Cincinnati didn't see very many of those last night. And
yeah,
when they did, just like it happened with the Giants, just like it happened in Week 1, they would pick up the 3rd down. We didn't stop Cincy too much. There were a couple of I think honestly the deciding factor of the game last night, a couple of drives where we held them to field goal attempts. One field goal attempt was missed, and then they were trading field goals with to our touchdowns. And that was
yeah,
really the deciding factor because, honestly, if it wasn't for that, we would have been talking about a much different ball game.
yeah,
We still would have talked about the offense being pretty good because the offense put up 38 points last night. And the offense, for honestly, to be quite frank, they looked unstoppable. They really
yeah,
did. Now, we can't expect that they're going to look like that every single game. But here's also the thing that this is some of the intangibles and that really start making a difference with football team. So, Brandon, all right, number one, this was a Monday night primetime game.
yeah.
Everybody, well, I'll say everybody was watching this game. I know there was another game on, if you call it a game. I was pretty much a thrashing that Buffalo put on to Jacksonville. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people tuned in to the Washington Cincy game. But it was a primetime game, and that is big time. You're on the big stage there as a rookie. And Jayden Daniels playing like he did, error free football, playing as if he'd been in the league for 10 years.
Yeah,
Um, that was huge. And just overall, the Washington Commanders, how, at least on one side of the football, how great they looked. But, winning this game last night, because no one had them winning, that's going to really go a long ways because now they're like, you know what? We went out on national TV and showed everybody what we can do. We really did put the NFL on alert. Yeah, we've got places that obviously need some help, but this team can win. This team can play against anybody. Now they're going to have a very tough game going to Arizona.
yeah,
They've already gotten on a plane and went straight to Arizona after the game last night. So that's going to be another tough game. But I think if you're Washington right now, you're looking at yourselves like, why not us? You know, um, it, if we can, if our offense plays like it is, if our defense can at least improve somewhat, we're going to win. We're going to win a lot more than what people are choosing. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I have still picked them to win 7 games this year. And I'm going to stick with that. But I'm telling you, if they somehow beat Arizona, you're 3-1, and you kind of start adding in some more of these wins. Suddenly, you're 3-1, 4-1. Um, I can't see them then down the stretch just winning 3 more games after that. They may show something, but still, just this is what I have been wanting to see. I want to see progress. This is something we didn't see with Ron Rivera. It seemed like we saw stagnant, the same thing year in and year out. And but I do want to see something better with the defense, obviously. But I think that will come. I think they are going to find the right uh, combinations, put the players in the right place. But that's going to be kind of their Achilles heel right now, is really trying to find out what they can do. Offensive line, it may not be perfect, but they sure looked really good last night. I'm okay with our offensive line. They looked worlds better than what they did Last year was horrible. I think they even called me, and I was like, well, I'm at the time I wasn't quite 200 pounds, but I was willing to go in there and try to block. But but uh, overall, it was fantastic. That one play where we denied them the 2 point conversion, we got away with one right there. That was huge.
Oh yeah.
We should have gotten called on that. And honestly, Brandon, had they gotten that 2 point conversion, I don't know. I mean, it's just little things like that that can really change the complexion of a football game. Um, but I will say, we got calls that normally don't go our way. But overall, I mean, it was a pretty clean game last night. Not a lot of penalties. That's the other reason why they won last night. They played a clean game. They're not committing a lot of penalties. There were a couple of procedure calls, but even with that, they were still able to overcome that and score. So, honestly, I'll be honest with you. This is the first time that I can remember that Washington's offense played that well. And people will say going back to RG3, I think I'd almost have to go back even further. Like, dare I say going back to 1991, that Super Bowl year? Now, I'm not saying that they're going to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, during that year, like they scored at will. It felt like no one could stop the offense, and that's what it kind of looked like last night. It was like no matter what Cincy tried to do, they couldn't stop it. But I do want to see how they play against Arizona. Arizona's going to have a little bit better defense, but um, overall, Brandon, I can't say enough about what I saw last night. It was exciting. I was happy. I didn't get a lot of sleep, obviously, and about 2 o'clock today it hit me. But I'm excited. But what do you think moving forward? What do we need to see from this team? Now I know what you're going to say, but what do we need to see from this team for them to continue this to build on this? But things obviously they have to improve. I know you're going to say defense. So, what part of the defense, or just in general, what do they need to do to keep building?
Oh, easy. I mean, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen need to wake up. I mean, they both got one tackle. One tackle. Okay, let's take a look at the salary cap situation, right? All right, Deron Payne, we are currently paying him $15 million a year. This man got one tackle. One tackle. All right, Jonathan Allen, he is making a base salary of $14 million a year. Got one tackle. Now, we get on the coverage all the time in the secondary, and rightfully so, because they're terrible. They're bad. It's hard to watch. But, I mean, the reason for that, there's a lot of pressure on them, too. They have to try to be perfect on every possession, man, because there's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. We're paying these guys a combined almost $30 million. I'm terrible at math. I'm pretty sure it is $30 million, but combined. But we're paying them that much money, and we got two tackles. Two tackles. Come on, man. Enough's enough. Look, we are a team that, and another thing to look at too is, look, as a fan base, slowly roll a little bit. I know we're excited, man, but I know how we get, man. We're gonna get too excited, and you already got people talking about Super Bowl. I mean, come on now. I mean, we got to kind of temper our expectations a little bit. There's gonna be growing pains. This was a really good win. This was best case scenario. I mean, Jayden Daniels, a real Scary Terry did his thing. Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler have really come into their own and being a nice 1-2 punch. His offensive line is better than we thought they were going to be. Brandon Coleman came in, and between him and Charles, man, they've been really, really good. But here's the thing: the defense is bad, and Cincinnati, like, if you take a look at the schedule, then a lot of these teams on the schedule are not going to be as forgiving, man. Baltimore, if look, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, have fun with that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're excited, man, but look, the defense is bad. And the fact that we don't have any pressure coming from two guys who are making $15+ million a year is concerning. And when you look at it, trying to get potentially get a wide receiver at the deadline, maybe we need to send them Jonathan Allen in return. This is the guy who has the rah and fans need to show up, and you need to show up. One tackle. I mean, bro, I'll take Waterboy for the league minimum, man. $15 million, you make it one
Bobby
tackle.
Boucher.
I'm telling you, I'd be Bobby Boucher. It'd be the best taste of water in DC, man. I'm just saying that we need more production out of this
Yeah.
defensive line. You know what I mean? Like 2 tackles and how much money we paying them, that's unacceptable in my opinion. So, like I said, I'm very excited. I love to see my team win, but I'm more of I'm sorry. I'm a cynic at heart. I try to be a realist, and it's gonna be growing pains. Like I said, a lot of people are excited, and rightfully so. We should definitely be excited, man, because this is definitely a new era in Washington Commanders history, man. We're definitely turning the page. This is definitely gonna be a good team down the road, man. But we're still a retooling team. We saw a really good game on Monday night, but let's be real. Arizona ain't no scrub. Cleveland, you don't know what to expect, but they got a couple good wins, man. I mean, Baltimore, that's going to be hard to go into Baltimore and win. Panthers, go ahead and put a W down on that. The Bears, you can pretty much say the same thing, but even Gale Williams has not lived up to being number one overall. The Giants, they always give us fits, man. Let's see, Pittsburgh looking all right right now. I mean, you look at the schedule,
Undefeated.
undefeated right now. You got Justin Fields.
Justin
I'm just
Fields, exactly.
just saying, you got at Philly Thursday night, Dallas, Tennessee. We'll see. Will Levis is his own worst enemy. At New Orleans is going to be a hard one. At home against Philly is going to be hard. Atlanta has got a lot of weapons, and then you got Dallas. So it's not going to be, like I said, you'd be excited, man. But I mean, let's be real. There's going to be growing pains. You're going to see a lot more Giants games than you're going to see Bengals games because there's going to be a lot of growing pains, man. And this defense is, the Bengals, they allowed us to hang in there. And it had a lot to do with our offense. Our offense was the star of the show, but our defense, look at the score. I mean, it was closer than we really give it credit. I mean, 38-33. I mean, it was still a close game. And once they made that last score, I mean, if the defense didn't hold and they scored, then the pressure's on Jayden to go down and score. And we could have very well lost that game. So I hate to be the downer in all this, but I try to be a realist, man, where it's a good win. But let's be real, we know how our fan base gets, man. We get a win like this, everybody's talking about we're going to go to the Super Bowl, man. We need to stem that. Because the only way we go to the Super Bowl is we buy tickets, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a long year, and this is real talk. I think this gives us a glimpse of what we can be,
Mm-hmm.
but the defense is still that bad. And if we don't find enough pressure from the two guys who are getting paid, then we need to start making some hard decisions, man, and start thinking about life after Jonathan Allen and maybe Deron Payne, because you 2 tackles, that's unacceptable. So.
Yeah, yeah, and folks, I just want to show you this again, just so you're not going to tell us you're overreacting. But the stats don't lie. I mean, if you look at the guys who had the most tackles last night on the team: Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Mike Senstrill, BSJ, Quan, and some of the what did these guys have in common? Mostly secondary.
Yep.
Linebackers of secondary are making tackles. What does that tell you? That tells you that your defensive line is not stuffing up the run. It tells you that the defensive line is not getting after the quarterback. To what Brandon said, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen both had 1 tackle last night, and neither one were sacks. You had Javante Jean Baptiste come in. He had 1, but guess what? It was the sack. So it was a good. If you're only going to have 1 tackle, at least make it a sack. It better be a sack, or at least better, be a loss for the running back. But yeah, that tells you that your defensive line is underperforming, and you have got to find some better. Just you got to light a fire under him. Johnny Newton, he did have some 2 solo tackles, 4 overall tackles. Jamin Davis got in there. So I mean, you do have some guys up the front there, but for the most part, who are making most of the tackles? It's the secondary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Linebackers and secondary, and that's telling you that these players, the opposing offense, is getting in, and they're getting 10+ yards per play, and that's not going to win you very many games as a defense.
Yeah.
Your offense is going to have to be electrifying, just like it was last night, in order to stand a chance to win. Because the thing is, again, we're not going to see this type of offense week in and week out. It's
Yeah.
probably going to be good, but it's not going to be like this. They're not going to score on every single play or every single drive.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to get you in trouble. That's what's going to be the difference of these games is, a couple of 3-and-outs here and there, a stop here, a field goal where they needed a touchdown. And then all of a sudden, the other team gets the ball and they go downfield at ease.
Yeah.
We've continued to see that consistently in the last 3 games. So, folks, that if you want to see why we're talking about Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, those stats don't lie. It's got to get better up front. And, if you can start putting pressure on the quarterback, start stuffing these runs, start putting these teams in 3rd and long situations, you're going to have a much better chance. And they did put the first couple of teams in those positions, and those teams converted on 3rd down. So that's the thing. You can't, you got to finish it. You can't just be really good on 1st, 2nd down. You got to do it on 3rd down as well. So, hopefully, I mean, it's still kind of odd that we're talking about the defense needing to improve because we felt like the defense was the better part of this team in the last couple of years, but it's not the case. Really, it's
Yeah.
not the case. And what we all talked about being one of the best defensive fronts in the league, really, it's not. It really isn't at this point. And honestly, that even started back when we still had Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat was probably the best one, and
Yeah.
we got rid of him. So, but got work to do. We got a lot of work to do, but it's nice being able to still win a game
Oh yeah.
and be, at least for another week, atop of the NFC East. Always good to see those Dallas Cowboys lose. Really thought that the Eagles were going to lose. Should have probably lost that game. And, the Giants, just you never know when they're going to win.
Nah.
You really,
Nah.
you don't know. They're so unpredictable who they're going to beat. So, overall, it's a fun season. I've had fun watching it. Even if they lose, I have fun watching the maturation of this team. I tell you, man, I really like Dan Quinn. He was
Yeah.
the best head coach for this team.
Yeah.
The team loves him. I love his coaching style and his supporting cast as well. Overall, this is going to be. It's not going to take them long. I really don't think it's going to take them long. It's going to be a good team. Just got to work some things out with the defense, but this team is going to be a scary team in the next year or two.
Oh
They're going
yeah.
to be they're going to be one of the top teams, guarantee it. As long as everybody stays healthy. So, folks, I'm telling you, hope you stayed for at least most of this rah-rah session with us. Hey, we tried to bellyache about some stuff as well, but we're trying to keep it real. But folks, hey, I tell you, stick it right here with the Washington Football Maniacs because we will be coming out with some more content. And with that said, Brandon, anything else before we go?
Not at all, man. Good victory. Prime time victory, man. So definitely very happy. Like I said, this team, like you said, Greg, this is gonna be a good team. Just give them some time. We still got some things to do and some growing pains, man. But we're definitely heading in the right direction, and we're gonna be a better team a lot sooner than later.
Absolutely, absolutely, and just enjoy it as it goes. Win, lose, draw, just enjoy the process. Just enjoy sitting back and watching these players get better because I guarantee they are going to get better as the season progresses.
Oh, yeah.
And then come 2025, who knows? I mean, if we make the playoffs this year, I'm not going to be upset with that and say no, they were not scheduled to do this year. I'd be happy with it, but yeah, overall, I just want this team to continue to improve like they should, and I think they will, folks. That's it for us. Hope you enjoyed it. For Brandon Scott and myself, Greg Sykes, this is the Washington Football Maniacs podcast. Check us out wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and also don't forget to hit that notification bell. And with that said, we will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.